This audiobook is distributed by Christian Audio. Please visit christianaudio.com to offer your impressions of this work and to explore additional titles.
This audio recording was produced in 2014 by Christian Audio, which owns the copyright. No portion of this recording may be reproduced for any reason without prior written consent from Christian Audio. This edition recorded by arrangement with Multnomah Books, an imprint of Crown Publishing Group, a division of Random House, LLC. Please visit christianaudio.com, facebook.com/christianaudio, or twitter.com/christianaudio to offer your impressions of this work and to explore additional titles.
Multnomah Drive Time Audio presents the Storytellers collection, edited by Melody Carlson, read by David Jordan. The Lesson in the Shells by Jerry B. Jenkins. I was on my way back to the United States after a trip to Irian Jaya to observe relief efforts after a 1976 earthquake. The jumbo jet landed on a runway that dominated a tiny South Sea island, one of those inexplicable stops, neither for picking up nor dropping off passengers, or even taking on fuel. Airline personnel herded us under a wind and sun-faded wood canopy, where we sat on benches with our cameras and our fatigue. On three sides of us lay hundreds of yards of shell-strewn sand and the beauty of the endless sea. Behind us wound a few narrow streets of squalor. Almost immediately we were besieged by the island's bronzed children. They had long, jet-black hair, dark eyes, and gleaming teeth. With their hands full of shells, they hard-sold everyone. "Dollar," they would say, and when people looked shocked, they laughed. "Nickel," they would then say, giggling. Some people bought shells they could have picked up themselves only a few feet away. "Don't do it," the older man said wearily. "These kids are supporting their parents' drug habits." I had been so used to declining the beggars of Irian Jaya that it was easy to turn away these little paupers. One boy started at $1 and went to 50 cents, then a quarter, a dime, a nickel, and even a penny before he gave up. I didn't need or want any shells, and though I enjoyed him and smiled at him, I shook my head. He moved on to success with someone else. At the edge of the tiny sales force stood a little girl with a face so radiant I could still see it 2 decades later. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. When the rest moved on, she continued to stare at me. Then she approached, her tiny hand crammed with 3 shells, each about the size of a golf ball. She smiled and held out her merchandise. I smiled and shook my head. That's when she said the word in her own tongue that I could not understand. I assumed she was saying cheap, or dollar, or deal. I shook my head again, and she reached closer. She pleaded with me now, repeating the word over and over. How these kids had been trained to pull at heartstrings. Yet I would not be moved. I shook my head again, and I saw her tears form. Very well done, I thought. Almost worth a sale. But no, I was too sophisticated for that. She moved away, shoulders slumped, and tears streaming. She squatted nearby and cried, not looking at me. She had me. She had won. I pulled $2 from my pocket and went to her. What was this? She wept even more. And now it was she who was shaking her head, and she repeated the word. Confused, I interrupted a missionary's kid involved in another conversation to ask her what the word meant. "It means free," she said, turning back to her conversation. I was stunned. The little girl looked at me warily. I pulled my hands from my pockets and showed her my empty palms. Then I repeated the word as a question, and she beamed as she handed me the shells. Searching St. Peter's by Nancy Moser.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?